Good morning. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. I'm going to take a quick look. I'm going to do this local forecast and then I'll do a more regional one for the TikTok page. If you're on TikTok, definitely check out some of the previous posts I've made and follow the TikTok page, please. Once I get that up to 10,000 followers, then I can go live and it can become a monetized source there. Since monetization on Facebook has fallen off because they keep changing the algorithms. So, that said, we've got a snow event coming tomorrow that's looking more and more impressive as the dynamics begin to build. Um, there's a system up in Minnesota that's going to help pump some of the colder air into this current system that we're getting rain from today. That, as I've shown over the last couple of days, is going to go up through Michigan, loop back around, and drop back in from the northwest. And when it does, we'll get some overnight snow showers that probably won't, if they stick, they won't last very long. But one, the surface air is looking colder, and two, it's looking like a pretty heavy thump of snow that may come tomorrow afternoon. So let's take a look at that real quick. First, quickly from a regional standpoint, I do want to just take a look. Up here is the low that I was talking about just off of the northwest corner of Minnesota. And you can see its cold front right here. That is pumping some colder air right in along this. So as this precipitation here, the low pressure associated with it goes up into Michigan, loops around and drops back, it is going to help pull in some of that colder air. And so our snow accumulation tomorrow is looking semi-decent for this time of year. So we'll take a look at the HRRR model, and so what we'll be looking at here is here's the precipitation that we're kind of looking at this morning. That'll pull out of here and move off to the east and northeast. Then a low pressure is off screen right now and it's looping around, and you begin to see some of this precipitation that's dropping in from the northwest. This is by 8 p.m. this evening. We've got some patchy showers around that may have some mix in them, and then possibly some snow showers that may drop in here overnight. So then as we get into this around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., maybe a decent little hit of snow in the overnight hours, moving out around 6 or 7 a.m. So it's possible that we could pick up a quick, half inch to an inch of snow overnight as the temperatures are going to be at or below freezing. So grassy areas especially, the snow may stick to those better. And any snow that falls overnight is going to help cool the surfaces and make them more receptive to the snow tomorrow when it snows harder. So as we progress through the day, then as we're getting here's around noon, we can see this heavy thump of snow developing as the low pressure begins to dive back to the southeast. And so what we're going to watch is where this heavier band really sets up. Plus, getting into the afternoon, there's a little more instability. There's a better chance of it developing some more localized, really heavy bursts of snow. So what we're going to be looking at is a general snowfall. There may be some areas within that may actually pick up more. So we can see then by 2 p.m., heavy snow is engulfing much of central Indiana, and it continues to dive down. Here's the low pressure diving off of Lake Michigan up by South Bend. And so these back here where it's got rain, I'm skeptical of that. But this right up here closer to the low where it's pulling some of the warmth off of Lake Michigan, yeah, they may transition to some rain in the late afternoon tomorrow. This is 6 p.m., 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock. The core of the low is dropping right over us, maybe just to our west, and then it begins to push off. So tomorrow afternoon and evening, we're going to be looking at a decent thump of snow, and those surface temperatures are warm, relatively speaking. It's going to snow hard enough that snow is going to be able to overwhelm the warming, and then once you get a blanket of snow on a warm surface, it will cool down relatively quickly. So we'll take a look at first what the output is for a snowfall, and then what's likely to actually stay on the ground. So here's a look at the HRRR snowfall output for the entire event. This is through 6 a.m. on Friday. This is snow that would fall from the sky. So if everything that fell stuck, we'd be looking in Madison County at a 2 to maybe 4 inch snowfall tomorrow. And that's a big if. More likely, a decent amount of that is going to melt, and so we'll end up with maybe a half to 2/3 of this amount. So we'll take a look at that real quick. So here is snow depth, and so this will be what the model thinks will survive melting. And so you can see an initial wave in the overnight hours. It's putting down a half an inch, maybe an inch, in the overnight hours, and then you can see that it melts some of that off, and then here comes the afternoon thump of snow. It begins to accumulate it here in Madison County around 5 p.m. That may be a little bit late, but and then it pushes off, and so we're looking at at the peak somewhere around an inch to 2 inches of snow surviving on the ground, and then as we get into Friday morning, you can see that snow then begins to melt off. Again, the temperatures will affect that a little bit, but that's kind of what the model data is looking like. That's the HRRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh. I'll show you the National Weather Service, what they have real quick, and then we'll call it a day, and then I'll update as needed. But I would expect that at some point the National Weather Service, maybe this evening or so, might issue some sort of a special weather statement or a winter weather advisory for the snowfall tomorrow. So here's the National Weather Service's call on it, and they've got Madison County in the 2 to 3 inch range, and then areas down around Indianapolis, at 1 to 2 inches, and then it goes down as you get down closer to Bloomington. But what they say under there, what we know is some snow possible tonight and early Thursday with minor accumulations possible. Most of the snow will fall Thursday afternoon into the evening with up to about 2 inches of snow possible in some areas. Most of the accumulation will be on grassy areas and elevated surfaces, but some travel impacts are possible, especially on bridges and less traveled roads. Windy and cold with wind chills in the 20s. And then they, under uncertainties, then they say how much impact warm ground will have on accumulations. So the snowfall, again, I said the snow that might fall in the pre-dawn hours may help cool the surface down and make it a little more receptive to the snow sticking. But overall, I think what's actually going to stick to the ground, again, the grassy areas we might be closer to 3 inches. On roadways, we might be closer to 1 inch at the peak. And as soon as the snow begins to taper down, then the roads will melt pretty quickly. Especially, I would assume they're going to get pre-treated some. And then the roads will melt pretty quickly, but still be careful of the bridges. And then the grassy areas will be slower to melt, but they should begin to melt off by Friday morning sometime. So this is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Please support the page if you can, financially. Please do so. Thank you there are a couple of you who've been very generous here lately and really have helped keep this page going. The number of donors is down to about half of what it used to be, just like 5 or 6 months ago. So please support this page if you can and help me keep it going. So I will update you as things develop more if anything changes. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Have a great day.